So the breaking news that I wanted to get to, though, is that Frank Reich has been fired as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And what's even crazier
Is who's replacing him?
is who's replacing him. I mean, I guess I would have been largely ambivalent about Frank Reich being fired. I don't know if I would have done it. I mean, I think that Reich has dealt with a lot of adversity.
Three quarterbacks in 3 years.
Yeah,
Andrew Luck
none of them
retiring.
who have been very good. And he has taken that team to the playoffs, and they almost beat the Bills. People forget in that first round playoff game. And they've made the most with what they've had. So I guess I would have erred on the side of not firing him just from the outside. But it seems like Irsay wants to either tank or like see what they have in the rest of the team. So, but now I err on the side of tanking because they've hired Jeff Saturday, who you all might remember from
Former Hall of Fame center for the Colts.
Is he in the Hall of Fame, or he's at least in the Ring of Honor? He might not be eligible for it yet, but he's been a team consultant, and now he's getting hired to replace Frank Reich. And like,
Oh, yeah, sorry. He's in the ring. You're right. He's a Colts Ring of Honor member.
right,
not
he
a
might
Hall of
be a
Famer.
Hall of Famer. I don't know. I'd have to like do a deeper dive into that. But I don't understand what consulting he's been doing for the team. I don't understand if that consulting has been connected to the locker room or any way that the coaching staff has conducted itself. Um, it just is odd. He's only coached at a high school level, and then you're replacing a guy who has made the team as competitive as possible, who kind of had a decision about quarterback thrust upon him. It was clear that Ellinger starting was an ownership decision, pairing with what I said earlier, for them to either see if they have something in the guy or tank, and it looks like they're tanking because Ellinger has not had a good first two starts to his career, but at the same time, it's Bill Belichick. He eats young quarterbacks like this for breakfast. That's why I picked the Patriots to cover, and they covered substantially. Like Ellinger, he only had 103 yards on the game, 15 completions.
And it's a guy who again, like he was I think he was a 6th-round pick or something in 2020.
Yeah, out of Texas.
He's never before this season, he had never started an NFL game. I guess my thing is, and I'm with you there in the sense of it's kind of a weird decision that this couldn't wait until the end of the season, only because it's not as if a lot of this stuff was necessarily completely expected. Based on how Matt Ryan played for the Falcons last year, I didn't think he was going to necessarily be great. I didn't think he was going to be bad, and by bad I mean benchable bad. Benchable for a guy who's never started an NFL game bad. I also
And not just benchable for a game, like, oh, he's
for
dealing
the
with
rest of the season.
He's dealing with this soreness, and we got to hold him out for a game and see what we've got. No, they benched him for the season, which is clearly an ownership decision.
Totally.
No coach would ever make such a proclamation about a player.
Because it leads, there's so many questions that go along with it. So if Ellinger is bad, you don't put Ryan back in. If Ellinger gets hurt, you don't put him
back. It's with
back.
a hard G, right? I keep saying it wrong.
I have no idea.
It's if Ellinger, I think it is a hard G. If Ellinger, because it's the opposite of what I think it should be. If Ellinger is bad, okay, like you don't want to turn back to Ryan
or
have the option. That's a weird choice, and a coach would not be making that decision. So, I just like what this Jeff Saturday thing reminds me of is, or what I initially thought was, the owner of the Texans. What's his name? Cal.
The current owner.
Was that his dad, Cal?
McNair.
Jeff McNair. Yeah. Cal McNair. Cal McNair is the current owner. Yes. So Cal McNair is probably just thrilled that now, yes, this team was the first to hire a white quarterback or a white head coach.
Yeah, former NFL
circumventing the Rooney Rule, which is apparently what you can do with this interim head coach position. Who has no experience, and so I get to hire Josh McCown next year.
Right. It was gonna say he's like gonna see Josh McCown in the pews at my church, and I'm just gonna be like, it's on, man.
Yeah,
we're all good.
Although he did have his like snake oil salesman Jack Easterby depart the team recently, so who knows? But
That was interesting to me in terms of the McCown sweepstakes because I feel like Easterby might have been the connection there. But
and
I
by
imagine,
sweepstakes you mean they're the only person their team that would ever hire
oh yeah, I mean,
him?
he will get a head coaching job in one place and one place only.
Yeah,
That's in Houston.
So that to me, this would, if I were a coach moving up up the ranks in any organization, particularly in the Colts organization, this would infuriate me.
Yeah, and I think, but it's also just a strange thing because, per like what I was saying with the expectations aspect of it, is like beyond Matt Ryan, they had spent a lot of money on this offensive line. Quentin Nelson being one of the best guards in the league, Matt Pryor, Ryan Kelly. These guys weren't supposed to be this bad.
No.
And when they got injured, they got Bernard Raymond, a rookie, to get some run. He's not looked very good in replacement I think he was at left tackle again. Like a lot of pressure to put on a rookie. Even a few of their good defensive pieces, Kwity Paye, Shaq Leonard, Grover Stewart, like all of this stuff is just not necessarily enough to make up for the big swings that were taken that it did not work out. And I just don't know if I would necessarily put all of that at Frank Reich's feet, especially when he's essentially been operating with little to no roster continuity since Andrew Luck retired.
Yeah. And it's just crazy to me. Gus Bradley's on the staff as the defensive coordinator.
Right.
And you're going with the guy who's how is Jeff Saturday going to stand up in front of Gus Bradley, who has been a coach in the NFL, a head coach for like just decades, and command that room? I don't know, man.
You need to stop running cover two. Sorry.
Yeah, that is just.
I know you've been running it for 25 years straight, but you do need to stop.
This feels like, again, Jim Irsay just putting his fingers in the pot and stirring and not worrying about the consequences, and like it's just owner privilege to me.
Yeah, and also I don't know what precedent it may set or example it may set if Saturday is like a colossal failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because then the question not only becomes why move on from Reich if this is what the result would be, but also then as well, why move on from Reich and then choose this guy as opposed to someone who at the very least could literally be a placeholder until you have a more extensive search in the offseason.
But that's the thing is who's going to hold Jim Irsay accountable? He owns the team. So he's going to make whatever decisions he wants, even if they're crazy. This would bother me if I were a player or a coach on this team.
Or a Colts fan.
Oh, yeah. Well.
And like, don't get me wrong. I think I loved Saturday as a player. It really has nothing to do with that. It's more just the process than anything else.
Irsay just wants to relive the Peyton Manning days.
I'm
so
sure
badly.
that's probably part of it as well, right? Like,
hey, Saturday was on that line.
Do you remember?
They're friends.